Good morning. At least I think it's still morning. Probably 2 minutes from being afternoon, I guess. Anyway, hello, hello. Hello, Bay Trippers. Bay Lady here. Sharon Schultz is my name. And I am coming to you today from my Wednesday noontime hump day on Irish time getaway. Never know where I'm going to pop up or what the subject matter will be. Now, we're still in October here, so I thought a fall excursion would be noteworthy. I think you can probably see the fall colors on the trees behind me there. One thing about living in the middle Atlantic states in the US is you truly get to experience all four seasons of the year: winter, spring, summer, and fall. So the changes are nice, and the colors are usually gorgeous. Anywho, so this today I will get into in just a moment, but generally speaking, if you would like to keep up with my tours, I do other things besides on Irish time. If you wanted to keep up with my tours, the best place to do that would be on Facebook. The Bay Lady is on Facebook, and that's where I post everything that I am doing as far as tours go. Also, my YouTube channel is the other important source for information, and that would be Sharon Schultz, the Bay Lady. So you can find either of those, and my upcoming tours are posted on both of those platforms as well. There are some other platforms that have links on my Facebook and YouTube pages for various things when I want to call your attention to, and that is a platform called Buy Me a Coffee. All of my tours here are tip based, so Buy Me a Coffee is where I can receive and appreciate the gratuities that keep me out and about and gas money and such. So that is also listed on both YouTube and Facebook pages. So without further ado, I am going to turn this around, the camera, and see if you can guess or if you have a general idea of where I am before I actually tell you. There you go. Okay, so what are you looking at, you ask? I don't know. Trees? Hmm, leaves? What on earth? There's a playground for the children. The playground equipment should give you a couple hints here and there. Let's see, what do we have in the playground? We've got a train for the children to climb aboard. There is a ship there. There's even a fort there. My goodness, where could we be? And in front of us, here is a monument. And what is that behind? Oh my goodness. Wow. Well, look where we are. We are in Baltimore's Federal Hill Park. Yes, indeed, Federal Hill Park. This is one of my favorite parks in the city. Well, it probably is my favorite of my favorites. My most favorite because the view of the inner harbor is nothing short of stunning, as you can see. Nothing short of stunning. It's cold today, by the way, I have to say. I had my jacket and I actually threw a sweater on over my jacket to give me more warmth. So you're looking at Baltimore's Inner Harbor. Um, in the bottom of the screen, that would be the Patuxent Place. The Baltimore's was called the Inner Harbor. Those are two market pavilions, the Patuxent Place pavilions, kind of closed now, but soon to be rejuvenated. The mess directly below, with all the construction equipment, is a new park that's being built. Baltimore does love its green spaces. So prior to everything being cleared, there was a memorial there to our Baltimore's tall ship that was lost at sea with its crew called the Pride. And also volleyball courts. That was called Baltimore Beach. It had sand and volleyball courts and the memorial to the Pride. So now it's going to be a park with gardens, I believe, and I'm sure it will be just wonderful. Very, very nice. Yes, indeed. The tall building in the center there, that's Baltimore's World Trade Center. It was built in 1977, and believe it or not, it's the world's, and I mean world, it is the world's tallest five-sided tower. That's right, the building has five sides. It is a pentagon building. And like I said, the world's tallest tower with five sides. To the right of that, on two piers, piers 4 and 5. That is at the end, the Baltimore Aquarium. The one on the left was built first in 1980 and was so successful that they added the one on the left, the one on the right, in addition to it. Let's see. What you see behind that second addition to the aquarium, that's the power plant. That used to supply the electricity for the trolley cars and the street lights back in the 1900s. It was built in 1900, actually. Today, it houses Hard Rock Cafe and also one of Baltimore's local seafood family-owned restaurants called Phillips. That's where you can get your taste of those lovely Baltimore crab cakes. Speaking of food, right here below me, center stage on your bottom there, that is the Rusty Scupper restaurant. Excellent food, excellent views, day or night. It's a restaurant that comes highly recommended. Now, above that, you see four kind of white tower things. That marks and the building next to it marks the entrances to Little Italy. Little Italy is over in that area, and that is where you would go for Italian food, like the real thing, the authentic stuff. What else is down that way? That goes out to Jonestown, another community. Looking this way, these tall buildings that you're looking at, that is Harbor East, as opposed to Inner Harbor. Okay. This is Harbor East, upscale living areas, shops, apartments, hotels. Four Seasons Hotel is over there, the Marriott, penthouse apartments with spectacular views and such, definitely. And then just directly ahead of us is called Harbor Point. and that is kind of that is the newest area compared to, okay, Inner Harbor, 1980, Harbor East, oh, probably 2010, and then Harbor Point, which the last buildings were completed just this past Christmas. Their national headquarters also has Under Armour national headquarters here as well. Looking out this way out to the river there, that goes out towards and to Fort McHenry, which you can't see from here. So, and here again is more of the park. Let's walk down this way a bit. Looking in this direction at the Inner Harbor, Baltimore has some historic ships. You can't see the Coast Guard cutter from here. It's over behind the aquarium. The Coast Guard cutter is the last surviving Coast Guard cutter from Pearl Harbor in Hawaii during World War II. Okay, on the left, on the aquarium to the left, on the left side of it, woohoo, big hill, right? On the left side of it are two more ships docked there. There's a submarine that is known for sinking the very last enemy ship during World War II. Behind it, a red and white ship that is a light ship. It is a light ship, kind of is assigned to a lighthouse where it will kind of patrol around it to, keep ships safely away, what have you. You're looking at the small cruise ship right over here. Behind it is the lighthouse that the lightship used to patrol. It's been moved from the mouth of the bay here to Pier 6. And again, that little cruisy ship there is kind of blocking the view. The top of the lighthouse is kind of sticking up out of the top if you zoom in, if you can, on what you're seeing here. Not quite sure how that works, but anywho, so back to the ships here. You can also see the USS Constellation. It is docked in front of the Harbor Place Pavilion to your right. The Harbor Place Pavilion to your left has several little cruise ships docked in front of it. Those are ships that take you on dinner cruises out in the harbor and such. They go out to Fort McHenry and take you to all those really interesting places. But the ship in front of the pavilion on your right, next to the World Trade Center, that's the USS Constellation. It is a 122 gun war sloop. It was the last warship built by the U.S. without navigational equipment. Every ship going forward after this one had what was then, I'm sure, high-tech navigational equipment, compasses and things of that nature. That ship was on the seas for more than 100 years. It was built in the 1850s, just in time for the Civil War, where it spent the duration off the coast of Africa patrolling for slave ships, intercepting them before they could come to the U.S. After that, it had many duties. It was retired in the 1960s, and it was docked at the Annapolis Naval Academy, being used as a training ship. And then eventually, in the 1990s, it worked its way here to Baltimore, where it has a permanent home and is part of our historic ship fleet. Other buildings you're looking at are all built after 1904. The Great Fire of 1904 wiped out everything that you're looking at up to the power plant. Power plant with the four tall smokestacks there. That was built in 1900 and it survived the fire. The canal there, the waterway, is what stopped it from continuing on that way. So, this cannon here, okay, this cannon here is a reminder of the days when this was a fort. And as you can see, it had quite a vantage point, and uh, has witnessed many events here during the years. Okay. At first, the history goes like this: Captain John Smith, who founded Jamestown in Virginia, the first permanent English settlement in the early 1600s. He was an explorer, obviously, and after Jamestown, he was exploring along the Atlantic coast, and stumbled upon the Chesapeake Bay. And so he decided to follow it, and that led him to the Patapsco River, which is what you see down here. Okay. And the Patapsco River came into this natural harbor. Okay. It was shallow, not as deep as would have been helpful. However, it was a natural harbor. And the thing that Captain John Smith, aka Pocahontas's better half, other half, rather, um, he saw this major hill that I'm standing on. At the time, it was a huge clay cliff. It was a red clay. Hence all the buildings here in Baltimore, all the brick structures here in the neighborhood. But red clay. And so Captain Smith predicted that one day this would be a fine harbor. Baltimore would become an important seaport. And it did. His predictions came true. 100 years later, in the 1730s, Baltimore was being incorporated as a city. The top of the hill here was manned by various shipping companies, and the docks below us here had warehouses and terminals and all of that. And as the representatives of the shipping companies, the lookouts, would see the ships coming into the harbor, they would send word down to the docks that the ship was about to arrive so they could prepare. And that went on for years and years and years. During the War of 1812, there was army troops up here, and also the townspeople. The Battle of North Point, the Battle of Baltimore, was the night that Fort McHenry got bombarded by the British naval fleet in an effort to take Baltimore. That was the night that the poet Francis Scott Key witnessed the battle and wrote the Star Spangled Banner, which eventually became our national anthem. It all happened right here, folks. Yes, indeed. The townspeople stood up on their roofs watching the battle. They stood here watching the battle. In later years, during World War, during the Civil War, Fort during the Civil War, Fort Federal Hill here played an enormous role in keeping Baltimore City under control. When the Civil War first broke out, riots occurred in Baltimore when federal troops were moved in by President Lincoln. It was important for the North to gain control of Maryland to prevent it from seceding to the South. Logistically, it would never have worked with Washington, D.C., the heart of the Union forces, Virginia right next door, belonging to the Confederacy. And if they had taken Maryland, then Washington, D.C. would have been totally surrounded. Never would have worked. Nope, nope, nope. So they were really adamant about making sure that Maryland didn't secede, and it didn't. There were lots of activities up here because it was a fort. There were soldiers up here. There were families. There were townspeople that would come up and, visit up here and all. And so during the Civil War, one of the commanders in charge, story goes that as the women would come strolling up here and walking by, he would point to this cannon and remind them that it was aimed at their homes right across the way. And as you can see, it's not about protecting the harbor. That would be down that way. Okay, but no, it's aimed at their homes. Okay, funny, funny. Um, Over on this side, you've got the Maryland Science Center, which has been here. Well, I think this came in the 1980s, 70s, but it has grown over the years. The Science Center also today contains an IMAX theater and an outstanding planetarium. And they are mostly primarily noted for their dinosaur collection. They have a whole wing in the museum that has models of humongous dinosaurs. So Baltimore is a pretty city, I think. It's kept rather clean. There's M&T Bank Stadium. That's the home of the Baltimore Ravens, our football team. The Ravens' colors are purple and black, and the seats in that whole entire stadium are the prettiest shade of lilac. Really neat. Now, over where I'm pointing the camera, you can't see it because there's a building there, but right behind that is Oriole Park. Camden Yards, home of the Baltimore Orioles. Yeah, both stadiums are side by side. How's that for convenience, right? Looking out into the neighborhood here, this is the neighborhood of Federal Hill. It's a much sought after neighborhood. It's has a younger crowd here that lives in this area. Most of the families here have younger children. They're young families with young children, young professionals working here in the city. The homes are old, at least 200 years old, the majority of the homes that you're looking at right here. And they've been renovated inside. And they also, if you notice, they have rooftop decks. The closer you get to the inner harbor, the more homes with rooftop decks. They add important real estate value to these homes for sure, because if you're living in the inner harbor area, part of what you're looking for is the view. There are several communities that line the harbor here that are geared to the view, that are all about the view, that are built for maximum enjoyment of the view. Those stone steps that are there are killer. When I first started coming here, I didn't know you could go around and enter from the top. I walked those steps. Oh my goodness. They were quite quite a feat in exercise for sure. So this playground is Baltimore themed. It's got Fort McHenry in here, and it's got the Federalist, the ship that Federal Hill is named after. The Federalist was a ship that was very important in the Revolutionary War. And when this area, when Baltimore became incorporated, the townspeople decided they would have a big to do up here. And some of the people created a model ship, something like the size of what you're looking at in this playground, actually. But it was a ship that could sail, but it was on a very small scale. And what it was meant to do is sit up here like this one as a reminder of this wonderful festival that they had, right? Well, during that wonderful festival, the ale flowed a bit too much, and it ended up that this little ship, or the little ship that was here, that's the replica, ended up floating down the hill into the harbor. It did survive, however, never did make it back up the hill here. It was given as a gift to our then President George Washington, or yeah, well, was he president then? Anyway, it was given as a gift to George Washington, and it was docked outside of Mount Vernon, his family home. And 8 months later, a hurricane came along and reduced it to a pile of sticks. And so ended the saga of the Federalist. Ooh hoo hoo. Boo hoo. So as you can see, this little park here is kind of in the heart of the city, one of many green spaces that Baltimore prides itself on. There's a really nice deck on top of that roof, but that's an apartment building. I guess it's a shared deck. I'm just talking to myself. I'm just noticing. I notice new things all the time. What can I say? So these homes here, all these homes, they are historically protected also. And they go for a fortune. They list for over $1 million. It's really unbelievable when you think of it, when you think of how much has been devoted to this. How not that. I mean, when you think of how much time has gone by, these homes have withstood so much history. They've seen a lot. A lot, a lot. Now look at this rooftop deck. They actually put a little building up there. Isn't that nice? And the view is killer. And also, I have to tell you about these homes in particular. The steps and the fronts of the buildings. Okay, if you notice, the steps are all white. Those are the famous white marble steps of Baltimore. There's neighborhood after neighborhood that has blocks and blocks of marble steps. And what goes with the marble steps, hand in hand, as it were, above the front door at the top of the marble steps is stained glass. It's a stained glass window that contains the house number. So these are custom made stained glass windows and marble steps. And this is what Baltimore has been noted for, is famous for many, many years. Now we're coming over here to the downside of Federal Hill. Not downside, I mean actual down the hillside here. Actually, the community that you're looking at with all the the white tops and decks and penthouses and such, is called Harbor View. And that's one of the communities that I was mentioning about being planned, being maintained just for the water. Totally, totally all about the water and the water view. In fact, like I said, the name of this community is Harbor View. Can't imagine why. These homes have something for everybody. You've got studio apartments, you've got, penthouse apartments, condos, some for lease, some for purchase, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 1 bedroom, whatever suits your fancy, waterfront, water view, no view, um, access to the marina there, and a boat slip for your boat and whatever else you need. Now, down here, we're working on this, by the way, that's not quite sure. I guess they seeded it. This hill, in the summertime, you will see people on blankets watching movies, okay? Directly across the long brick building that you see. In the center of it is a hand, a gold hand. Well, below the gold hand is the movie screen, okay? And that's where people come on Thursday nights during the summer to watch family-friendly Disney movies and such. The building belongs to the American Visionary Arts Museum, as does the building next to it and the one next to it. This whole street of 3 buildings is the American Visionary Arts Museum. It is one of the happiest places in Baltimore. You've got exhibits inside and out. There's gardens outside to visit, all kinds of spectacular displays. The artwork has a folksy appeal to it, and many of the artists are local. So it's a very fun place to go and gives you a true picture of Baltimore art. And here is just more buildings, blending the old with the new. You're looking at this new high-rise condominium building that is part of Harbor View. Right behind it is a 100-year-old Domino sugar plant where they're still making sugar distributed all over the world. Pretty much. So, anyway, so I think that about wraps it up for me here. Let me get the camera turned around. Ooh, ooh, it's quite damp too. It's quite chilly, I have to say. I'm cold. My hands are cold. Ah, there I am. I'm back. Okay, well, um, as I said, that concludes our little tour of Federal Hill. You got to see some fall colors and learn some history of one of Baltimore's most popular historic areas. So, without further ado, I am going to go. I need some hot coffee and something good to drink, and I hope y'all join me next Wednesday. On Saturday, I have a tour. I have Williams Wake. It is at the Irish American Museum, and they simulate an old Irish wake. And a tour of the museum, and also I think I have that scheduled. Not sure what time, but I know it's for Saturday, so check my pages. Thanks. Take care. Bye.